So, welcome everybody to this episode of Entrepreneurial Appetite's Black Book Discussions. My name is Langston Clark, and I'm the founder and organizer of these events. And today we actually don't have a book discussion, we just have an entrepreneurship discussion. We have a documentary movie discussion that I'm excited for us to get into because it's something different, something that we're switching up. And part of our mission is to build community, support black businesses, and promote intellectualism. And so when this brother Melvin Graham reached out to me about highlighting the work that he's doing in the film industry, I jumped at the opportunity to do so. And we'll get into a little bit more of today's discussion later. But before that, I just want to let you all know that our support of black community and black business and black intellectualism goes beyond these events. And so with two friends of mine who are also graduates of North Carolina A&T State University, we have started an endowed scholarship at our alma mater called the From A&T to PhD Endowed Scholarship. And so 10% of what we earn here at Entrepreneurial Appetite goes to fund that endowment to help promote graduate education at our beloved HBCU. And so we appreciate those of you who join us, those of you who are patrons, those of you who are one-time supporters and returning supporters. Thank you for your support of what I'm doing with Entrepreneur Appetite, but then also thank you for your support of the From A&T Endowed Scholarship. Um, Also, I want to make you all aware of another podcast that I have. I collaborated with two of my friends from graduate school who were all teaching assistants for this course called African Americans in Sport. And at our respective universities, the University of Seattle, the University of Washington, and Trinity University in San Antonio, Texas, we collaborated to turn that class that we used to be teaching assistants for into a pod class. And so you get to hear what we teach our students, but in podcast format. And so we have a number of guests who can speak to the African American sporting experience. We go beyond just what happens in the field. We talk to people who work on the business side of sports. We talk to people who work on the academic side of sports. We have people who have won Super Bowls and have become top executives at universities. We have people who are former student athletes who have become entrepreneurs. We have people who've never played sports but somehow found their way into working for sports organizations, and want to give you all a broad understanding and perspective of the experiences of African Americans in sport on and off the field. So check that out as well. And also want to make you all aware of our founding 55 patrons. And so one of the things that we do in order to support black community, or that I want to do to support black community, is hire a black intern or freelancer to help with the production of the show, the editing, the YouTube videos, all of that. And so you can support us more consistently by becoming one of our founding 55 patrons. And so for $5 a month, you get access to all of our shows, you get access to bonus content, bonus shows, and of course you get to join these live discussions as well. So without further ado, I want to shift our focus to today's conversation about Black Business LA with the director and producer, Brother Melvin Graham. And Melvin does some outstanding work as a film producer, and I'm gonna let him talk a little bit about himself and how he got started doing what he's doing.
All right. Thank you for having me. It's definitely a pleasure to be here and be able to talk about entrepreneurship and business ownership in the film industry. Well, my name is Melvin Graham. I'm a director, or should I say filmmaker, because that encompasses just about everything that I do in the film industry, from being working as an editor, from doing should I say producer work or executive producer work and directing. I do all those three things in one. And I'm also a business owner. I own RSI Productions LLC, which is a service-based production company where we tackle all things from should I say pre-production, production, all the way to post-production, all through the production cycle. And what we have now is Black Business LA. And I'm sorry, should I say Black Business LA is under an additional company that I have called Black Business Series LLC, which deals with the structure of creating documentary series that are Black business related. So this is what we have. And with Black Business LA, what we're doing is shedding light on, should I say, Black businesses, Black entrepreneurship, and the industry itself that exists within, should I say, Black business practice. So we're talking about, should I say, business variety from the food industry, transportation. We cover just about everything that Black businesses exist in industry wise.
Fantastic. So, just tell us how you got to be where you are right now. When did you first get into film? Was it something you wanted to do as a little kid? Was it something that were you working a corporate job and you're like, man, I don't want to do this. I love movies. I love film, and you just quit and started to do your own thing. Like, what's your history in the film industry? What drove you to do that? What's your passion for film?
Well, for me, believe it or not, this happened right after high school. I went into broadcasting school at the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, and just working in, should I say, political news is what got me into film. I worked for as an intern, a show called The Right Side with Armstrong Williams in Washington D.C.
Wait a minute.
Hardcore conservative,
Wait a
you
minute.
know,
You work for
yeah.
Armstrong?
Armstrong was interning. I was a CG operator for the show, The Right
Really?
Side, and all I did was type words on the screen for the show. There's some butchering there, but Armstrong laugh at me about that. But yeah, I'm from Washington D.C. originally. Went to a local school in Arlington, Virginia called Connecticut School of Broadcasting, where I learned how to edit using Avid. Actually, it's a program called Avid, and just working in everything news related, just working in different cycles of political news and also a little bit of sports as well, just editing clips and things like that. I knew once I had the skill in terms of how to, should I say, use transitions to make video appealing, I knew I can do film.
Mm.
So it actually started there. I was a lot younger back then. I was 21 years old at the time, and so that's what led to me wanting to do film and actually work in post production.
So I had no idea you worked for Armstrong Williams, and I don't know how.
Intern. Let me make sure I'm
Okay, okay,
correct.
okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
intern.
I don't want you to get kicked out of the community. I don't want you to get kicked out of the community. So for those of you who don't know, Armstrong Williams is he's not only a black conservative, he's a black Republican. And so there's a difference between being black conservative and being black. He is hardcore Republican, and he's so Republican that he was Ben Carson's chief of staff when he was like trying to be president. So I just we're gonna get into the show, but I just want to know what was that experience like working with Armstrong as an intern, but maybe also talk about what is the significance of creating internship opportunities for Black students to be able to get into the film industry.
Well, I mean, he has his own network called the Renaissance Network. That's what the network was called then. That was and it was funny because this is during the time of 9/11. So
Mm.
we're talking 2001. And yeah, the Renaissance Network was quite a main network in Washington D.C. for conservatives, for Republicans. Me at the time, I'm always been independent. I've never been either one, Democrat or independent. I didn't see it that way. I just saw it as an opportunity.
Mm.
So for me, in terms of the political aspect of, should I say, the content and things, or Armstrong Williams' political beliefs, that wasn't really a stickler for me at all. Armstrong taught me a lot of things. He taught me how to be professional in terms of what's expected when it comes to broadcasting and things of that nature. And and he introduced me to the culture of broadcast television because everything's fast paced. Like you really have to be on your game to
Mm.
work in broadcasting.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I worked as a CG operator, just typing words on the screen. And so if your spelling it isn't right, or if they give you the names of the people who are appearing on screen, you have to get those names up there quick. So, Armstrong really prepared me for all the hardships that I deal with today and how to handle them like a professional. So I
Mm.
give him a lot of kudos and credit for just giving me the opportunity at the time.
So what was your first, like after you get your degree, you're done with your internship. What was your first film film job? Did you go straight into like entrepreneurship, or were you working for another network or somebody else?
I've done, see, that's the thing. The journey was something because, that's why I mentioned 9/11. Because right after
Mhm.
9/11 happened, the economy took a dive. Wasn't a lot of jobs, it was a lot of stress. So I moved to New York City. Then I started interning even more. I did more things with local radio, uh, should I say, local film producers who were doing small things. So I did things like running lights for sets. I was also a gopher, as they say, or PA, production assistant, did stuff like that in New York City. And it just got to the point where the money wasn't great. Here I am working in restaurants, bartending, and things, jobbing. You know how we do when you're
Yeah.
out in the grind, trying to find your way in any industry that is. It just wasn't happening for me, so I joined the military.
Mm.
And it was after the military when I was able to, should I say, stay in San Diego because I was stationed there. And then when I finished being in the Navy, stayed in San Diego, went to Platt College, and got into media arts, which led to me getting my first job in the film industry, where I did, a production assistant there. And with a couple of other students that I went to school with, we started our first production company called Mental Scope Productions, and we did some documentary things with that. Also in school, as a, should I say, a graduation project, we did a short film called I'm sorry, not Back to You, because that was what I did with the 48-hour film festival. So I've done a lot of different things in local San Diego in terms of the film ministry. It was actually called Iron Will. It was a school
Hmm.
project that we did. It was the school's first drama. It was almost like an after school special. We're talking about drugs in high school and things of that nature, right? So it really gave us an opportunity to express ourselves artistically as writers and really tell a good, sound story about some of the things that Black high school students even deal with in high school. So it's a great, should I say, start for me in terms of where I am now. And that's where I started. It really started with doing multiple jobs and taking the risk in terms of starting my own production company at that time with fellow classmates.
So I think it's interesting, and I'm tapping into like my college professor self.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I think is amazing that more young black folk who are college age or maybe decide not to go to college is like one of the reasons why you go to school is to find your business partners.
Mhm.
And I just think it's dope that you did that. Um, and that's something we hear like people who go to Harvard and Yale with their MBAs. They be like, "Yo, I got my MBA just so I can find my startup partners." But you were doing that at a smaller, less prominent school on the West Coast. So that's pretty dope. So let's fast forward from the production company you all created as a part of or in addition to your graduation project. How do you transition into like RSI Productions, but then also like how did you get to LA? What was it just because LA is where Hollywood everyone goes to LA for films and things like that. What's the story of the transition there?
Lack of opportunity. I mean, I'm just going to be blunt. One thing about, should I say, working in the film industry, right? Or should I say what it takes to get into the film industry is the hustle that happens before. Some of us have skill sets in different areas. Some can edit, some are good shooters. So you have guys out here who can shoot good short videos for YouTube and things of that nature, where they can display their cinematic style, right? So you have this going on, but yet there's not a lot of money circulating. At least back then it wasn't, and maybe now because with views and things of that nature, you can actually make pretty good money on YouTube or even Vimeo to a degree. So at the time, though, if that wasn't, should I say, the hustle, getting on YouTube and displaying your skills on Instagram and getting showing your skills, you really, you had a website and you had to go out and you had to pitch it, right? But a lot of times companies would see it and you don't get hired.
Mm.
And then, we're talking about San Diego. It's not a robust, should I say, film city. They
Yeah.
do have a community, a nice, especially it's called the Film Consortium. They really have a real good community in terms of that, right? But San Diego is not known for films.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost like being in a different state to a degree, and not should I say have a great variety of opportunities. So you have to do things to make up that difference. So you may do video commercials for small businesses and things of that nature. So that's where you get some opportunities. But like I said, it wasn't a lot of money going around for a lot of the skill sets that comprises of film in San Diego. So my transition to Los Angeles was a no-brainer for me because I knew that was the only way I was going to get to the next level. Now to come to LA and start my own business, which now I have as RSI Productions LLC, that came from struggle as well. Not easy to just uh, work in this town in LA without knowing anybody, without having a point of reference who can, should I say, get you a position at, I don't know, any of them, Sony, Warner Brothers, you name it. To get into those doors, you have to know people.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I did was I volunteered a lot. And after being able to volunteer, here I am. Now I'm gaining more knowledge and experience in terms of how the industry works. And once I was made privy to that knowledge and how things work and just what people are looking for and industry expectations, I knew I could start my own company because I knew
Mm.
the do's and don'ts.
Yeah. So you have RSI,
Mhm.
and then because when we first started talking, I don't know, did you already have the Black Business Series LLC set up yet? Or is this a new evolution, a more recent evolution that comes out of RSI? How did you transition to having both companies now? How does that work?
Well, because with RSI Productions, it was very service based, right?
Mm.
So here I am doing editing for different companies, and also even I even pitched a company to, should I say, to offer my services to people who need them, whether it's editing, whether it's filming, or whatever the case may be. So I wanted to keep that service space, but yet we have Black Business LA that we shot and also editing as well. So I wanted to create a structure so we could continue the process of making documentary series that are Black business specific. So I just made a business that's should I say centered around that. That's all I did. It wasn't that one couldn't do well. RSI couldn't should I say take on the whole entire production. It's just that it made sense to have one that's service based and one that's specific to the type of shall I say documentary series projects that we're doing. So that's all I did. Just separated, formed two entities that shall I say that serve two different things,
Yeah.
two different needs rather.
What is how would you compare the actual production of Black Business LA? Like, it's a skill set to be the director and the producer of the series, but then there's also this skill set of being the business the business side of it. Can you give us like insights into like how those two things work and how they work together?
Sure. Okay. You want me to start with the production side? Or you want to go
Let's
business?
start with production side, and then
Okay.
we'll do the business side. Yeah.
Now, production side. No one man can do this alone. I
Mm.
mean, we start with that part. Initially, Black Business LA was just going to be a film. It's going to be a one-off. What my wife and I actually envisioned was uh, just having a Black Business series that was centrally located in Ladera Heights, not Ladera Heights, Leimert Park, which is next to Ladera Heights, by the way, and Leimert Park, which is a historic Black community there. Also have should I say, a a structure of different Black businesses in one center.
Mm.
And it was just a good way to reach out, do community outreach, and also interview businesses and tell their stories, and also just talk about Black economics. So that was the original idea there for that. But when a friend of mine came on board, he's now one of the executive producers, Sherman Perryman. When he came on board, he helped me just, should I say, take it to a whole different level, because
Mm.
he didn't want to tell me. He said, "Well, why you want to do just a documentary film? Why don't we do an entire series?
Mm.
LA is bigger than just Leimert Park,
Right. Yeah.
right?" And not only that, and so when he told me that, I said, "That's true." So I didn't go to Compton.
Mm.
I wasn't in Inglewood.
Mm.
I didn't even know about the great Black business history that took place in Pasadena.
Wow.
So, the light bulb came on, and here we are. We're structuring a documentary series versus a film,
Mm.
right? But to talk more about the production end of it, I needed more people. I
Right.
needed someone who could help on social media. I needed someone to help keep the integrity in terms of, um, should I say, representing Black LA properly.
Right.
Sherman, my partner Sherman Perryman, he's from Los Angeles, so he was able to introduce me to more Black businesses that I wasn't even aware existed.
Right.
Another guy that came on board, and he's an associate producer named Dominique Scoggins, who Sherman brought on board to help with the production. He introduced me to more Black businesses too. So then it became a word of mouth where we were fishing for Black businesses to tell their story and talk about their struggles through the pandemic and things of that nature. And next thing you know, I had a entire series populated of Black businesses that represent different industries in Black society.
Mm.
So there we are.
That's good. And we gonna get more into the content of the series in a moment. I like that you talked about you couldn't do it alone, because
Definitely.
I think a lot of black entrepreneurs, I think a lot of entrepreneurs just in general, like you start off as a solopreneur, but in order for you to really get done what you need to get done, it requires the collaboration with other folks. So I appreciate that that's part of the narrative,
Yes, sir.
and the truth of like how you're able to do this series. Talk a little bit about like the business side. Did those two partners who came on later, did they did they help you with the business side too, or were they more just introducing you to some of the folks who were having businesses throughout the region of Los Angeles?
Thank you for asking me that question, because I don't want to shortchange them. Thank you for that. Sherman Perryman, when he came on board, I was renting equipment. I went to a company called ShareGrid, where you can rent equipment, filming equipment, without having to break the bank for it.
Mm-hmm.
And when Sherman came on board, he immediately purchased a camera, a cinema camera that we can use, that was Netflix approved and things of that nature.
Wait a
And
minute. There's a Netflix approved camera?
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, if you okay, so here we go. This is both business and production
Okay.
for films. Yes, Netflix have an entire list of cameras that they approve, that they will only allow filming for, should I say, content to be shown on their platform.
Wow.
Right? You see, I mean, I can throw some brands like, say, Canon. I know Panasonic has a cinema camera that's good. Sony, red cameras, and Black Magic cameras. For Black Business LA, we're using the Canon C70. I'm actually getting endorsement for all these
I know,
mentions.
right?
But it's all
We're
good
gonna
though.
reach out to them. We're gonna reach out, and I'll
Right.
give you a cut of what they give for the show.
For sure. Thank you. But yeah, the Canon C70 cinema camera is a Netflix approved camera. It's very comparable to the Red Pro Dragon, because we're talking 4K capability. Even though the Red Pro Komodo or Dragon, they both shoot up to 8K, I believe, capability as far as quality, picture
Mm-hmm.
depth, part quality. So getting access to the Canon C70 really took the direction took the Black Business Series to a whole nother direction.
Mm.
I was already renting the Canon C70, so I knew it can work. I did my research in terms of what camera would be suitable for a documentary, and yeah, the Canon C70 is perfect because It's a smaller frame camera. You can carry it around. You know, you don't have to lug a whole lot of equipment or whatever, because you know you want to go out and get good sights, good
Yeah.
scenery, and things of that nature. We're talking productions. That's why I'm saying this. And you know, you got to be mobile. You have to be able to be mobile, especially when you're not booking locations to shoot and things of that nature. So it becomes your best friend. That camera becomes your best friend.
Mm.
And then also you can add attachments to it so you can even step up the cinematic look that you're going for as well. So it's just a good. So when Sherman's initial purchase for that camera helped us take the production to a whole nother level.
Mm. Mm. And what were some of the other things that Sherman was able to do to help with the business part of the docuseries?
Well, as far as the business, and I mean, he definitely helped us keep the integrity in terms of how everything looks. For
Mm.
instance, like we're talking about Black businesses in LA. We're talking about Black LA. Me, I'm from Washington, D.C.
Mm.
So without that level of integrity, we could never be able to pull this type of thing off. So Sherman, from the business standpoint, helps keep the integrity in
Yeah.
terms of in terms of the documentary series being a LA product and being true to LA.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, the integrity.
Okay. And just so this is a question I've always wondered, right?
Awesome.
I think anyone who watches movies, right? I love the whole Marvel cinematic universe and multiverse, and I always see Kevin Feige as executive producer,
Oh yeah.
but I never see him as the director of a film. So, can you just give us some insights on what it means to be a producer or an executive producer of a film?
Okay, now there's a lot of different titles within the producer sphere of film production. You have a lot of different producers. You have line producers. You have, should I say, executive producers, production assistants. All of them are producers. Now you mentioned Kevin Feige. He is not a he started off as a producer on the X-Men films actually before he even became the head CEO of Marvel Studios. And what that entails, once again, this is integrity things to make sure, you know, picture quality, crew, things of that nature, expenses, you know, being a executive producer, you really are a well-rounded person. Not only do you understand the ins and outs from pre-production to post-production,
Mm.
but you also have to be able to make sure that the funding and everything else is intact. Things legally are intact too. So being an executive producer, you pretty much a Swiss Army knife. You know, your head is on a swivel. I mean, you have so much to account for. Now, the director. Now we're talking about the nuts and bolts of should I say of keeping the film together as far as its tonality, as far as the vision, the director's vision, and should I say in unison with the DP, director of photography, is how you put together the film itself, the look, what everyone's going to see, and also the integrity of the story as well. So it's a partnership through and through, no matter what level you're on.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I wanna transition us into some themes, right?
Sure.
That I saw from some of the pre-production materials,
Mhm.
and one of the things I saw on the trailer for the Black Business LA docuseries, and just a quick note that you all can find the Black Business LA docuseries trailer on YouTube if you Google it. It is a fantastic, like, if the trailer is an indication of what the docuseries will be, it's going to be a fantastic docuseries because it's a well done trailer. And so
Oh,
one
thank
of
you.
the themes from the trailer was like the surge, right? So during COVID-19, there were a surge of black businesses, but at the same time, there was a survival issue. So can you just talk about, without spoiling the film too much, how did the surge, the theme of surge and survival, like play out in some of the episodes?
Well, the survival, right? For one, when we talk survival, that's a should I say something that's transcendent through a lot of different things. We're talking the pandemic. We're talking about just Black economic survival. Black people in America are on the bottom, in every single economic category in America. And it's been that way for a long time. I want to say since the inception of the United States, but I guess I can't say that because
Mm-hmm.
as slaves, Black people didn't make income, right? So it wasn't even no point to even talk about economics with Black people back then. But let's just say, for the sake of this discussion, this interview, that Black people have been at the bottom for many, 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 many years in terms of economics and where we stand in terms of how the of what comprises of people in America. The survival part, because of the pandemic, a lot of us lost jobs. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of opportunities to even make meaningful income doesn't exist the way it used to. So it made sense for a lot of Black people to go and leave should I say, the workforce and start their own LLC and should I say, and pitch services. One of the things that was big prior to the pandemic was the gig economy.
Yeah.
Whether you was driving Lyft, whether you was doing Postmates, whether you was just, I don't know, doing other types of services, contracted services, right? So the merger of that happened right after the pandemic, where people decided to do the services on their own without, having headhunters or should I say, middle people, third party folks,
Yeah.
should I say, doing these pitches for you.
Mm-hmm.
Why not just start your own LLC and do your own pitch, get your
Right.
own website, advertise on social media and things of that nature. So one of the methods of survival was that. A lot of jobs wasn't hiring. A lot of jobs aren't paying, adequate wages to address the economic issues that exist with the economy. So having your own LLC, charging what you charge to sustain that LLC and to also sustain the living that you have, it really became, a go for broke mentality in terms of entrepreneurship and business ownership.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I found interesting in in the trailer and in the he has this, those of y'all who are joining us, there's a Bible for the series, and it kind of details like what's happening in the docu-series. One of the things I liked was the diversity of the family. And so we had talked before about how the individuals who appear on the docu-series, they aren't characters, they aren't they're
Cass.
features, right? They're not guests, but they're part of the family, right? That ecosystem of Black businesses in LA and the surrounding areas. But it was interesting how you had Judge Birdsong, right, who's a judge, and then you also had Freeway Ricky Ross. Can you talk about, those two individuals in particular, but then also like the way that you chronicled the diversity of business within Los Angeles, the diversity of Black businesses within Los Angeles?
Right. Now with Freeway Rick, he's a businessman himself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know it's so easy for us to say when we think of Rick Ross, we think about, a famous drug dealer, who got out of prison and turned his life around. While that is true, I wanna, should I say, address him as a businessman because he's quite successful. He's a boxing promoter now. That's one of his newest ventures. He's into music as well, and also he has his own cannabis strand as well too. He's going to be on the episode on Black Business LA titled "The Green Rush," where we going deep into the economic system that exists and the cannabis industry here in California.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lengthy story within itself because of mass incarceration.
Yeah.
We know cannabis is illegal federally, but statewide it's now legal. However, with cannabis being legal statewide, you would think that the state of California would be, should I say, more active in getting Black men,
Right.
since we've been more, should I say, incarcerated more than anybody over cannabis, right? You think there'd be more incentives for Black men, should I say, to own dispensaries, to even own cannabis products. There should be some type of grants given for something like that, I believe. Yeah. But like I said, not to deviate from what you asked. Rick Ross, I mean, the difference between him and Judge Birdsong, to do things they both agree on is Black economic prosperity.
Mm.
Judge Birdsong, prior to his ascendancy to being a judge, a Superior Court judge in Los Angeles, he was an activist against police brutality.
Mm.
So having a brother like that in the Superior Court of Los Angeles, we need people who are going to look out for us, and for him to have the outlook and the focus and see the issues that exist economically and want to do things about this. You know, it's a great ally, and it's a beautiful thing that we have somebody like him that sits in such a high position. Now, on the flip with Freeway Rick, what I like most about Freeway Rick, he's another brother who's very cognizant of the economic struggles we go through here in Los Angeles and abroad. And one of the things that, should I say, propelled him to where he is today was, you know, being able to pivot from his past and go into a direction where he's actually helping Black people, providing jobs, providing opportunities, writing books, shedding knowledge and light on things that he's learned going through his struggle that actually changed his life, which was when he was incarcerated. So, you know, as a businessman and as an influential person in terms of positivity, it was just great to have them both on the platform and be able to give their perspectives of Black life from a business sense. It was beautiful.
Talk about some of the Black women who were featured in the docuseries.
Okay, we have quite a few. Let's start with Urban Comfort Foods. They two sisters, Maxine and Janelle. They actually have a food company that fights against food disparities, because you know, in a lot of Black should I say neighborhoods or cities, I'm just going to say, I'm going to say cities, I'll say neighborhoods, we have a lot of food deserts. Like, let's look at the city of Compton. In the city of Compton, they don't have a Whole Foods there. Right. They have, you know, your regular grocery stores, Vaughn's, Ralph's, whatever the case may be. But there's no grocery stores in which, you know, you have healthy food options. It's a lot of fast food spots like Popeyes, whatever the case may be. I ain't gonna go too brand heavy here, but you know what I mean. You have food deserts, nasty foods, whatever, and yet you have bad conditions. You have all types of should I say ailments like diabetes and stuff like that spring from this stuff, right? So these two sisters came together, put together a business model in which can counter against that, giving people in our communities better food options. And that's should I say, two sisters that are on it. Another one is Chef Barbette Davis. I believe she's in her late 70s, I think. And she's a health expert, fitness guru. And she owns a restaurant called Stuff I Eat. And it's a vegan restaurant in Inglewood. She's on there. We also have, forget the sister's last name. I don't know it off the top of my head, but her name is Kim, and she owns Hatville Chicken. And this is one of the prominent, should I say, chicken restaurants in Los Angeles, right there at the Crenshaw Mall. And it's a very, should I say, happening business there. And she's very business savvy herself. Can't wait to show everyone the interview with that. So yeah, that's what we have in terms of some of the people who populate Black business LA.
And so I go to like all the mixers, not all of them. I go to a lot of the mixers from like awesome. the Black Chambers of Commerce that we have here in San Antonio. We actually have two of them. That's a whole other story in and of itself. I think they're gonna start working together. Hopefully they'll combine. I think they're working on it now. But one of the things I noticed is that a lot of people want to start restaurants or catering businesses, and I'm not hating on that, because I think, you know, we have culinary skills. We culinary arts is part of our culture. But how did you document or chronicle those Black folks who are in industries that we don't necessarily think about? I just, even like the average everyday person, whatever their ethnicity is, may not think about like, I don't know, I work for a company that makes paper shredders or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, who are some of the black folk who are doing businesses that we don't think about could be a business or are aware of?
Awesome. I'll give you two different business models. Like for instance, when it comes to holistic health,
Mm-hmm.
um, we have a should I say a black married couple that owns a company called Napoli Naturals that deals with holistic health. I'm talking about creams. I'm talking about um, dietary supplements and things of that nature. Whereas, holistic health has become quite popular because of the pandemic. A lot of
Mm.
folks don't like to use westernized medicine,
Yeah.
right? So now there's other options in which they can, should I say, self-medicate. And when you have we have holistic places like them, you have an alternative, another business model. And I'll talk a little bit about the cannabis industry. You have a guy by the name of Virgil Grant, who was a cannabis activist. If it wasn't for him, as said, and I don't know if it's true or not, and I'm going to do more investigation there. But if it wasn't for Virgil Grant, cannabis probably wouldn't have been legal in California,
Wow.
because he was on the political front for that.
Mm.
Now, the story about Virgil Grant, in fact, he used to supply weed, or should I say, cannabis, to the likes of folks like Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, people like that. It's Tupac Shakur. So he was very popular with that. But he formed a business model where he has, should I say, multiple dispensaries across Los Angeles, where people can get municipal marijuana and also recreational.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he made a business model out of that when it was once criminalized to do so. So those are two there, and I'll give you one more that I can talk about as well. Say so you have like you have these coffee shops, right? That a lot of us, when it comes to black society, it's not a lot of black owned coffee shops.
Not a lot.
I would spend a lot of part of our, should I say, budget for a lot of us goes to Starbucks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of the positive, and I know we want to get away from just talking about food, the food industry, but I feel like this is important because the sister Vanessa, that's in LA, who has her LA Grind and Bean coffee shop. She started this on the backdrop of it was an incident that happened at Starbucks with three black males.
Yes. Yes. I
Yeah.
remember that.
And here we are in a situation where they weren't buying anything or whatever the case may be, and they were kicked out or whatever. You know, she created a cafe in which black people can go and not just buy coffee, but they can also you should I say dine in or lounge. Yeah, there you go. I have sort of like a lounge type or cafe type scenario in which businesses can go there and conduct themselves,
Yeah.
or whatever the case, or meetups or groups and stuff like that. And you also have the option of buying coffee and tea.
Yeah.
So I like that concept based upon what happened, how you turn a
Right.
negative into a positive.
Positive. That's right. That's right. Uh, you know, one of the things that is big in like, I don't know, tech. Like one of the startup words people talk about is ecosystems, right? We need an
Ecosystem.
ecosystem.
Yeah.
So what type of ecosystem for black businesses did you see in the documentary? Did you have folks who were working together, who were trying to build, who maybe had two separate businesses, but they knew that they had to actually create an industry for all of the businesses to be able to succeed? How did they work together?
This is something, because I don't believe the businesses that I interviewed, even though they're owned by black people, right? It's because LA isn't designed that way. It's not a lot of us in LA. A lot of us left LA. Let's start there. So their business models are set up for everybody. So in terms of the ecosystem, that's how that works in terms of initial support and things of that nature. However, because they're black owned, of course you have to push that, because you want black people to support Black businesses, right?
Yeah,
But of course, with our business models, we only can be but so Black specific because of where we exist, especially if you have a brick and mortar,
yeah,
right? So a lot of businesses, in this case, they have that model where it's for everybody. But at the same token, um, Black people who are privy and aware of the Black businesses that exist in LA, there is a support system there. In
yeah,
fact, but the rise of should I say the uprising that happened here in LA in 2020, even with Juneteenth, how that became such a dynamic thing in terms of supporting Black entrepreneurs and businesses. The rise of that actually helped a lot of Black businesses,
right.
especially in Leimert Park, where that's a hub, a Black business hub of where people can buy Black products.
Mm,
So one of the things that happened there during the uprising, even down to this day, we have that place where we have, I'm sorry, we have Leimert Park, where for sure you have a Black ecosystem there, where there's a wide variety of Black people that show up there and just buy products,
yeah.
whether it's food, whether it's clothing, whether it's
Mm,
holistic goods, you name it.
it's all there. All right. So there are a number of long-standing Black institutions, organizations, right? You got Black churches, you got the Urban League,
Mm-hmm.
there's a Greater Los Angeles Black Chamber of Commerce. How did you document or see how those institutions were involved with supporting those Black businesses in the documentary series?
No, I did not. And I'm
Mm,
not to put anyone on the spot either. So I'm not going to do that. But what I will say is that Black businesses in Los Angeles need way more support than what they have.
mm,
And one of the reasons why I'm doing this documentary series is to shed light on that fact.
yeah,
Is that even though we have variety, Black business variety, the support can be better,
yeah.
right? There's actually been an increase in Black businesses. We up 8% to where we were pre-pandemic.
Okay.
And like I said, that's due to job losses and things of that nature. However, when it comes to the institutions, I believe that, like say for instance, the Black Church, I think they're very instrumental in the support of Black businesses. And the reason why I say that because their congregations have should I say, a diversity in thinking.
Mm,
And I think I think now when it comes to Black businesses anyway, I think we're starting to lean more towards that because we're talking about economic survival. Without having
right.
any type of Black structures in place, we don't exist anymore,
Right.
right? So I think us being cognizant of that is causing a lot of people to, should I say, to see it as a safe model to even start a business. We
Yeah.
have more entrepreneurs now than we had over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So there's some positive things there. But you mentioned institutions. What I would like to see from institutions that I
Mm,
don't think that I don't see happening enough is that we need to get away from being gender specific, and when it comes to Black people, and be Black people specific.
okay.
We have grants and set asides for Black women businesses, which is fine, but Black women are not the only entrepreneurs in or business owners in the Black race or in Black society or not. It's
Mhm.
men too. So we need to get away from the gender part and should I say and start to create funding lanes or opportunity lanes for Black people in general
Mm,
and not gender. So I'm saying more, should I say, resources being parted for Black women business and not Black owned businesses.
right. Okay.
And there shouldn't be a separation there.
It's interesting that you bring that up because there had been, I think, even before the pandemic, statistics were saying that Black women were the fastest growing population of entrepreneurs
Of
with,
course.
with Black women. And so, how do you what advice do you have for men, for brothers who are interested in getting into starting their own businesses and things like that, or even just doing it together with Black women? Because you talked earlier on about, I don't even know if we were recording yet, but you and your wife
Hmm.
actually kind of like have partnered and worked together with this. So what is it like to do this work in black community? Because you have your wife who's there with you. You had a
Hmm.
number of black men and women who were part of the family that was is featured on the documentary. So what is it like to do this type of work in community?
Well, for instance, my publicist and one of the producers of Black Business LA is a Black woman as well, and I guess my wife, Danae Graham. But we have Harvey, who this sister Harvey, who works with us. You know, she's in Texas like you,
Mm.
and she's been able to come on board and help us out a great deal with a lot of the business structure, and also and like I said, being a public representative in terms of reaching, in terms of outreach and things of that nature. So, you know, it takes, and it really does take a great team for any business to survive, and that's not something that I think gender should even have any, shouldn't even be a concern in that department, because you have sisters who are very talented and very intelligent, who add a lot of value to businesses, and you also have brothers too. Now there has to be a merging of that, because we're talking community, we're talking a society. So we can't butt heads over gender with this. We got to come together in terms of skill and experience and create structures that we need. So, but in terms of advice for the brothers, a lot of us have skills, a lot of us have passion, and it's the merger between the passion and the skill, and which helps a business thrive. Because if you don't have the skill set, and of course then you don't have any service to provide.
Yeah.
If you don't have the passion, then of course you're not going to want to, should I say, go through all the difficult things to build a structure. It's a lot of legal stuff. It's a lot of paperwork and things of that nature. So you have to be passionate about these things,
Yeah.
because you can't cut corners or your business will fail.
That's right.
So it's the merger between passion and also skill set.
I gotta ask one question because
Yes, sir.
um and then so let me do this. So those of you who are in the audience, if y'all have a question and you want to ask it, and you want to ask it out loud, if you hit the raise your hand function, what I'll do is I'll come over and I'll let you know that you're unmuted, and you can unmute yourself actually.
Awesome.
And I'll let you ask your question if you have it, or you can type it in the chat or the Q&A, and then I can relay that to Melvin for you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the question and give you all some time to think about what you might want to ask, or hit that raise your hand function. I'll actually let you take you off mute and let you be able to ask your own question. So I got a homeboy. My homeboy actually was my roommate when I was getting my doctorate at UT. He was an undergraduate student, non-traditional student, so we were about the same age, late 20s. I guess he wasn't non-traditional. He's just a little bit older than everybody else who was there. So he had more experiences in undergrad. We connected, and he was actually a radio, television, and film major. Good brother.
Awesome.
Um, and so in my younger days, he put me on to Tariq Nasheed. And
Yeah.
so I want to know what it was like to meet up with Tariq Nasheed. And as controversial as he may be to some people, I think that brother does not get enough credit for being a pioneer in podcasting. Because he was doing things in '08 that people are doing now. Like, he is an innovator. And in terms of documentaries, just going out and making it happen. I want to know what was it like to meet that brother and get his perspective on the documentary
Oh man,
series.
I'm a major fan and supporter of Tariq Nasheed. I'm going to put that out there. My wife has been too, and it was my wife's idea actually to have Tariq Nasheed on Black Business LA, and it was a no-brainer actually, because not only does he, not only does he live here in Los Angeles, but he's also been very instrumental in Black LA as well on a lot of different fronts that a lot of people probably don't know about. And
Mm,
he's also a filmmaker himself. So
mm.
it's a lot of things he contributed in terms of the interview that we did with him for the documentary series. And I tell you, just I don't know. Tariq is one of those type of people that you hear him speak and you just gravitate. You listen. I mean, you're talking about a brother with a wealth of knowledge. You're talking about a brother who has business success, and you're also talking about a brother who has no fear. Because think about it. You said he's a controversial figure. I don't think he sees himself that way,
Mm,
right? A lot of us who are considered controversial figures don't see ourselves as controversial.
yeah,
But even though people may label him that, that doesn't stop him one bit from talking about the issues that he's passionate about.
yeah,
And so meeting a brother like Tariq Nasheed made me feel secure in my own space in terms of what I'm doing.
yeah,
Because Tariq Nasheed has a model and structure of that ensures his business success. So I was all ears in terms of,
mm,
some of the successful habits that he has that's helped him become, should I say, even a pioneer to a degree in independent filming,
yeah,
documentary filming at that, with the Hidden Color series, Butt
yeah,
Breaking, 1804,
mhm,
things of that nature. So seeing him being able to create a structure and a lane that Black people gravitate to and support, it was just a no-brainer to have him on it.
yeah.
And I learned so much from him as well.
And he's consistent. Like he
Very
consistently
consistent.
has like stuff he books, documentary, show. It's he gets stuff done. So yeah, I'm glad you. I look forward to seeing the episode with him on the series, and I'm glad that you decided to have him in there. Um,
Yes, sir. Appreciate that.
a good brother Mason New has a question in the Q&A, and he's wondering about, and maybe this is related to the women who are doing the work to fill the gap in the food deserts.
Awesome.
Was there any? Did you hear them talk about any like type of funding that they got to support their efforts in those food deserts to kind of fill those gaps, or did they have to like bootstrap it and do it all themselves?
There has a lot of bootstrapping. I didn't go into specifics in terms of, should I say, outreach in terms of funding and things of that nature. And without giving away too much too, that's the problem. I have to walk a tight line without giving
Walk the
too
line.
much away. Um, what I will say about it, we talked about community and what the community, but we talked about communal needs. We talked about Black economic struggle, and we also talked about their story in general and what in terms of what inspired them. Now, the type of funding that goes into their business for them to exist, I don't necessarily, I'm not privy to that information. But that's a good question. Okay, as far as food deserts are concerned, and where people can get funding to combat that from a business perspective, the SBA has been very instrumental in funding, shall I say, restaurants and grocery stores because of the pandemic.
Mm,
So there's a lot of set asides for, shall I say, from the SBA. And I'm talking for minority owned businesses. I'm just using the jargon that they use,
mm.
minority owned businesses and Black women owned businesses. So that under those two structures, you can do it.
What is the SBA?
That's the Small Business Association. Every city in America has one, supposedly has
Mm,
one.
okay.
Yeah, you can actually go to the SBA.org to get more info. And yeah, that's where you can get a lot of grants and resources for initial startups.
So I know that you mentioned um, that one of the LLCs is Black Business Series, so it's beyond
LLC.
Black Business LA. Talk about what you plan on doing in the future, some of the places, some of the cities, some of the types of businesses that you want to document as you all continue to grow and do this good work.
Well, I mean, like I said, my scope was real small starting out. I just, it was all about just creating one film. No, not a series, no, not working parts like that, but just a film. But now that, the decision was made to actually start a documentary series, the minute we started talking about it and putting it on social media, people from all over the United States talked about, should I say, why don't you do a Black business documentary in Miami? Why don't you do one in Chicago? In fact, I get more people asking about doing a Black business Chicago than any other place. And so, as far as the structure when it comes to Black Business Series LLC, yes, and of course, everything is cognizant on the support of Black Business LA. I believe it will be successful. I don't see any reason it won't be. I will say this much: on the backdrops of Black Business LA, the next city that we do plan on doing would more than likely be between Chicago and Washington D.C. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's good.
Or should I say the DMV, because I guess can't say DC
Yeah, you can't
anymore.
say DC anymore.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So before we wrap up for the evening, can you give us some insights into when the docu-series is going to be launched,
Perfect.
what platform is going to be on, and where can we find more about what you're doing on social media and whatnot? And for those of you who are here, I just typed the link to the trailer in the chat, so y'all may want to check that out.
Awesome, and thank you for that. The series, should I say, starts December 11th, 2022. Now, initially, we had a few release dates out there, but unfortunately, when you're restructuring and you're going from an actual film to a documentary series, a lot of working parts, a lot of things that requires reworking. So that's why we changed the release date. As far as the platform, right now we're looking at Amazon Prime. It will have more information coming out about that over the next couple of months. We're actually getting ready to launch an equity-based crowdfunding campaign starting September 1st. So we're opening up Black Business Series LLC to Black people who want to invest. You mentioned social media. You can follow us at Black Business Series. I'm sorry, Black Business LA Series, on Instagram. Also, Black Business Los Angeles on Facebook. And you can also, should I say, find us at our own website, blackbusinessla.com. More information will be put out on our social media platforms about not only just the campaign, but also we'll be able to tell everyone what actual platform we're going to be on too. But right now, I'm just going to say Amazon, just for because I know that's should I say, one of the major ones that's been offered to us right now.
Okay. Brother Graham, thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing the docu-series, even everything from the insights you gave into like how you got into the film industry and the ins and outs of it. And thank you for the good work that you do chronicling Black businesses. And
thank you.
When you come to Texas, let me know. Oh, yeah. And maybe we'll connect. I could show you some Black businesses here in San Antonio, even though we're more of a brown city than a Black city.
So that's becoming America now anyway. So
yeah.
So, but I would love to come out to San Antonio, and also thanks for having me. I mean, this has been a beautiful discussion. If there's any, I'm hopeful that if your viewers have more questions, they can come on over to our social media sites and ask those questions if I missed anything. But thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it.
And I will be sharing a link with you all to support as soon as me and Melvin will be in contact about that. If you all want to support, we'll share that with you. So thank you, our guests, for being here. I'm going to share my screen one more time and talk about what we have coming up next. So if y'all give me 1 second, I'll show you what we have coming up in September for our next live discussion. So just bear with me as I share my screen. And we'll get this thing going. And here we go. Again, if you want to continue to support what we're doing, I do have a Patreon up. We're looking for our founding 55 patrons who for $5 a month will get access to all of our shows and some bonus content. And in 2023, we're going to be expanding what we're doing in our format, even for the live sessions is going to change a little bit. So next month, I have the privilege and the honor of hosting a conversation between Dr. Randall Pinkett and Dr. Jeffrey A. Robinson. And these brothers, I think it was about 10 years ago, wrote a book called Black Faces in White Spaces, talking about Black people navigating white corporate America. And in 2019, they released a book called Black Faces in High Places. And so it's not just about navigating corporate America, it's about being in whatever top position you can be in whatever industry, whether that's corporate America, your own business, the film industry, or whatever. And what's interesting is the brother on the left, Randall Pinkett, was actually one of the first winners of Donald Trump's Apprentice. And so it's going to be interesting to see. And this was like decades before the whole presidential thing was going on. It's going to be interesting to get his perspective on that. He actually came out with some pretty harsh, critical comments of former President Trump during the whole parts of his original campaign and whatnot. So both these brothers are good brothers, successful brothers who will share some insights on being successful and getting to the top of your profession. So look forward to having you all join us for that, and I will send out an email in the recap of this show for you all to be able to join that conversation. So thank you all for joining us. Delisa, thank you for being here. Brother Mason, thank you for being here. Yolanda, thank you for your continued support. And of course, Brother Melvin, I appreciate you being here as well. Y'all have a good evening.